It's wintertime and I'm dreaming of baby chicks. So I wanted to go ahead and take a look back at my last couple of years with chicks. And today we're talking about Marge. Marge was a part of my first ever batch of chicks back in spring of 2024. She came to me through the mail and spent her first weeks of life being brooded in my house. In these videos being shown now, she hadn't stood out quite yet. However, as they approached their teenage phase, the buff Orpingtons in general did begin to stand out. They were definitely the most friendly, and I noticed one began to follow me more than the others. Once the weather warmed up a bit and they went outside, I began to notice that one buff Orpington was seeming to struggle a bit and just wasn't as coordinated as the other chicks. And thus began the story of Marge. It was this day that I began to suspect something neurological perhaps going on. She was my most friendly bird, and managed to get around and eat and do all the chicken things, but not quite as coordinated as the others. When the rest of the chicks moved outside to the chicken tractor, I held Marge back and kept her with the younger ducklings for a bit. That worked out well for a few weeks, as the ducklings were still small and fairly skittish, so respected her space. But I knew she couldn't stay with them long term because I feared they would trample her. And so I began letting Marge out on her own during the day when I could supervise her. And thus Marge became the first free-range chicken on the farm. She remained very friendly, and you had to make sure you didn't trip on her because she was always underfoot. She was also really good at looking dead. She was constantly sitting or laying down in strange positions. But while her mobility was definitely limited, she was still getting around just fine. One of my biggest worries, though, was her getting run over by a vehicle, because she liked to hang out in the driveway a lot. And while we constantly tried to keep an eye out for her, I really worried about her being at the wrong place at the wrong time. Unfortunately, it was this worry of mine that was her downfall. One day, I penned her up in a horse stall to keep her away from the cars, and unfortunately, she managed to get into the horse's water bucket. I didn't even realize she had the coordination to fly up that high into it, but she definitely did not have the coordination to get out. Although Marge only lived a few short months of life, I'll always remember her as my first favorite chicken.